And you can go ahead. And you're on mute, Joel.
Oh, yeah, no, it was just there was a message on top of my microphone button. But yeah, thank you, Diana. Yeah, and that's it. So this is the session or the first session for this series of platform. That's something we don't hear quite a lot. I was talking to a few folks, and I always see people posting and commenting on new types of automations, AI, and all sorts of stuff that it is related to UiPath and other tools, but not many people are engaged or know too much about the platform or the behind the scenes of what is required, right, for the developers to have the studio up and running and the users with the assistant installed and with the automations available. And there's quite a lot of work that we have to do in order to make sure everybody has the tools available whenever they need it. And that's why I decided, okay, let's talk about it. And we put together, Diana and I put together this series of events. We have 2 sessions already booked for today in a couple of weeks, I believe. And there's more to come. We are going to still prepare the coming sessions. And my plan at least is to cover, of course, to give an overview about almost everything that is related to UiPath. So I don't I don't have any demos or things like that to show you. This is going to be more a conversation where I'm going to talk about the tools available, the ecosystem, and get some sort of feedback about my experience as a platform engineer. And I would love if you guys that are available now could join the conversation, post comments or questions on the chat. If you want to unmute your microphone and ask yourself, it is also welcome, because then we make this more interactive and interesting to everybody. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. So a real quick agenda. We are going to just real quick talk about our chapter, some introductions, and then we are going to start talking about the platform. Again, this is going to be an overview of the ecosystem as a whole. We do have some time in the end for Q&A, but you don't have to wait until the end to ask your questions. You can post your comments on the chat. I think Diana is monitoring the chat. She will let me know whenever there's a question. About us, again, we are Canada chapter. We are striving to keep this community alive. I mean, engaged. We put online events. We are trying to put some in-person events here in the Toronto area, but most of our events are online, and we're trying to bring speakers to this audience, to our members. We try to engage with exciting topics and with um, trending topics. We had a few sessions last year. We talked about different aspects. We talked about document understanding. We talked about the community itself and some other events. This year, this is the first session we are having for this chapter, but we are planning to have more. So the way you can get updates is going to our page. If you go to the community.uipath.com, go to Americas and then Canada, and register as a member. Whenever there is an event, you will get the notifications and you can register yourself to that particular event. We are also co-hosting some events from other chapters. then if you are a member of our community, you are going to get also updates for those events. So you are always up to date on everything that is happening. So the community page is our official place to hang out, let's say. Let's put that way. So here's a little bit of ourselves. Diana is our great manager, community leader. She is responsible for the Americas, and she has been doing a great job leading us on this front. Shantano is one of our chapter leaders. Not too sure if his is online today, but he also has been helping us, putting together these events and shaking this community. Myself, I work for TD Bank, and on my leisure time, I work for the UiPath community. Okay, so getting started with the topic of the day, which is the platform, right? And I would like to ask if folks that are online can quickly type something if you have any experience with the platform, or if you are developers, testers, or whatever is that your role, just to get an idea of the audience, where they are, because the platform is it's a quite unknown term, I would say. Many people, and I see this even within the folks that work with me, right? Developers, testers, people that are indirectly related to the platform. Many folks, they don't know what is the platform, what is UiPath. They simply have their studio or assistant or task manager installed and available, and that's it. That's their word, and that's what they know. But they don't know the the amount of work required to put that together, especially if we are talking about on-premises installation, and also to maintain that, to keep it secure, to keep it available, to maintain the integrity throughout the life cycle, right? And it's really a lot of work, and it's a very unique role that I would say that I had the pleasure to to end up working in the platform. So very short, UiPath is the whole thing, right? When we say the platform, encompasses the whole thing, not only the studio, not only the assistant or test manager, every tool that we know, some way or another, is impacted by the platform. Let's say, for example, your orchestrator, right? It has to be installed somewhere. It has to be hosted somewhere. If you are on cloud, it's easier. You go to the UiPath cloud and you have your orchestrator available. But if you have on-premises installation, right, you have to have servers, you have to have databases and accesses and privileges and roles and everything that comes with it in place before you even think about having the orchestrator online. So that's real quick. As I was saying, the UiPath platform is supported or supports installations on cloud, either the public cloud, for example, Azure, AWS, or if your enterprise has some private cloud, you also can deploy that to your private cloud, and also on premises, right? So this on-premises installation is the one that I have most experience on. So because our current project is on premises, and I would say it's probably the most complex ecosystem. Let's put that way. We are going to get into a little bit more details later on, but yeah, the on-premises is quite a challenge, I would say. As I was saying, let me get a pen here. So as I was saying, the platform as a whole, it relates to every tool that you have available. So it's not only the orchestrator, but yeah, includes the orchestrator. Let me get the pen. The orchestrator, the insights, test suite or test manager, and the list goes on, right? I put a few here, right? But we are going to have a full list later on with all the tools available. So every product that you see available, document understanding, computer vision, whatever AI product related, like everything has to be installed somewhere, has to be provisioned somewhere, and that's where the platform engineers come into place, right? Start to work. Okay, so UiPath platform delivery options. In very brief or in very short, we have three different options to have two different options for UiPath platform. The first one, and probably the most common, is the UiPath cloud, right? I believe most companies these days are adopting the UiPath cloud because it's much more easier to get onboarded to the cloud rather than doing the on-premises installation. That's my opinion. You don't have to install anything. You just have to work on accesses, configurations, availability, which products you want, who is going to have access to this and that, and that's it, right? You have no installations required, start instantly, and you can scale, right? If you need, you can start small, and then as you see the use cases coming, as you see the business growing, you can scale up your solution. That's much easier on cloud, right? Then we have the automation suite, which is a little bit different, right? You have to install either on your on-premises services or it can be on cloud as well, but you have to install that. And it's a full package, right? You install the automation suite. It's kind of one-stop shop. You have everything. You have everything in one place. And then you have the standalone products. That means you pick and choose what you want, and then you install, right? You can say, oh, I need Studio and Assistant. That's for sure. Everybody needs that. Even cloud, even the ones that select cloud, they have to install Studio and Assistant on premises. That's required. But then if you go to on premises, you say, oh, I want to start slow. So I want to start with Studio Assistant, yes. Orchestrator, yes. Test Manager and Insights, yes and yes. So you have 5 products. You have 5 different installations and servers and hardware requirements that you have to take care of that. And also upgrades and also firewalls. Everything is per product, right? And you have different life cycles for each product. So that's the on-premises. The product, not all products are available on premises. We have a list that I will quickly share in a few minutes, showing which products are available on cloud, which products are available on automation suite, and also on the standalone products. The standalone version, the standalone products, there are less products available. Let's put that way. There are less products available. to the standalone than the cloud or automation suite. Right. Real quick here, the automation cloud and automation suite, we have all the products available for both of them, right? When it comes to the servers and when it comes to the server products, right? It says here, the integration service and communication mining, they are not available on the automation suite yet. They are on the works to be available there. So this is a future update. But other than that, everything else is available on the automation suite as well. Integrated with UiPath Portal Suite and shared suite functionality, unified admin experience for the organization, tenant administration, user, and license management. Everything is centralized in one place. Integrated with high availability, backup, and scale management. This is really awesome, right? It's much easier to manage, especially high availability, scaling on automation cloud than on the standalone products. Let me stop for a second and check if there is any question. Yeah, I see.
Everything in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah. The cloud allows not to be so dependent on internal support, that's for sure. And that can be a real hassle, right? Depending on where you work. Companies like TD Bank, it's a very strict company, right? Very, very low risk. How is the word? Appetite, right? Low risk appetite. So we have a lot of regulations, and our ITS team can become a challenge, that's for sure. If you go to the cloud, everything seems to be easier. Yeah, no doubt about that. Okay, let's move on. So here we have a high level comparison between automation cloud, automation suite, and on-premises. I will not read everything, right? I will just quickly comment. I can even share this deck probably later on, but it's on the recording. You can stop and see later on. But in very short, deployment options, automation cloud has all the products. Automation suite will have, and there is no installation, right? You just sign in, you know, let's put this way. You don't have to install anything. You can just be onboarded to the cloud. The automation suite, it's a little bit different. You do have to install, but it's one-stop shop. You install in one place and you have everything available. On-premises installation, on the other hand, you have to select your products, define your hardware per product. So when you go to Orchestrator, it's one setup, right? One hardware setup. When you go to Insights, you have a different hardware setup. And the Insights, just put in a comment on the side, like the Insights installation, it's really challenging when you go to the standalone version. You have to have at least Windows servers, one Linux server, and one database. And the Linux installation can become a challenge depending on the company you are putting this product. Still on the standalone, if you select, for example, document understanding, it's a whole bunch of different servers that you have to put, a lot of hardware power you have to have in order to install or to make it available on premises. And all that, it doesn't happen on cloud, or it's much easier when you do the automation suite installation. The upgrades are as well very, very different from one platform to another. The cloud keeps updating every 2 weeks, and you you get them. So you get them as soon as they are released. So that means your currency is up to date, always up to date. You won't have any issues. The automation suite, you do have that twice a year, but it's just one update, one upgrade, and you are good to go. Now, the standalone, I will talk about a lot about standalone because again, that's my most recent experience and where I had many issues. So the upgrade on the standalone, it's quite challenging, right? Because you have many different products with different aspects, with different specifications, hardware requirements, software requirements, and you have to synchronize everything together when doing this upgrade. Again, also happens twice a year. So yeah, it happens twice a year. The hardware footprint is the cloud. When it's cloud-based, you don't care about hardware. You just scale up or down depending on your demand, depending on your need. The on-premises or private cloud for the suite, automation suite, you have one set of hardware and all your tools will be available there. And again, for the standalone, you have different hardware requirements for each product. The maintenance is on the cloud is fully maintained by UiPath. If you go to automation suite or on premises, it will vary depending if you are on a public cloud or private cloud, if you're on premises. So if you're on premises, you are responsible for that, right? So, and the list keeps going, like security, deployment considerations, reliability, costs and benefits. So probably, let me just talk a little bit about cost benefits. Overall, the cloud option tends to be more cost effective, right? That's what we see usually when we move to cloud. The automation suite, it lowers the maintenance cost and also the management compared to the on-premises. But it depends on the product. My opinion is it depends on the product you are going to install on premises. If you have a slim installation, right? If you just have Studio Assistant Orchestrator on premises, it's probably it's probably cheaper than having the full automation suite, right? Because when you install the automation suite, you need a pretty big hardware, right? Because it's all in one place. So unless you install other products like task mining, or I don't know if task mining is available on premises, but process mining, document understanding, computer vision, things that need a much powerful hardware on the standalone, right? If you don't select all those products, probably the standalone version will be cheaper than the automation suite. But otherwise, I would say the automation suite is also a better option for our company. Here we have a list. Let me click on this list. Oh, how can I get my... Oh, here. Just give me 1 second. I will bring this to here. So this is the table or the page that I was talking about. It has the full list of what's available and what is not available in each type of implementation, right? So we have the on cloud, of course, has everything except task capture, assistant, and attended robots, also assistant, and then the studio, right? Everything else is available on the cloud. The automation suite does have some tools that are not available. Communications mining and which other one here? Where is it? Where is it? Integration services. They are not available here, but they are planning to deploy that, and also marketplace. The others, as I said, that's capture assistant in the studio. You have to have installed on your local device, right? The standalone is the one that has the least number of products available, right? And then each new product will require that you know a new list of hardware and software. So when you say you want to install UiPath Assistant, the suite where not Assistant, Insights. So the Insights is available on premises, right? But when you go to install the Insights, you need to provision Windows servers, SQL servers, Linux. You need to take care of the firewalls. You need to take care of the roles that are users, AD groups, everything that will allow or will enable the insights on your premises, right? And the same applies to Orchestrator, Test Suite, and any other tool that you're going to install on your on premises. Okay. Let me move. So here we have a very high level architecture for the cloud, right? On the left-hand side, we have our desktops, we have our target applications, services, we have our products that are available on this top right here. We have the products that are available on our browser. Oh my, it's so hard to mark with the mouse. Let me get a laser. Yeah, so here we have the products that are available via browser, custom clients, mobile, everything connecting to the platform. In the center, we have our orchestrator and all the products available on this ecosystem, right, on the platform. We have some comments here, roughly saying what's available on the automation cloud. Number one is available in standalone, and number two, it's available only on cloud. But again, the full list was back there. We were just looking at it. So this architecture, so it's all on microservices. That makes it easy to scale, to manage, to deploy. The services are designed that they can be deployed in cloud and also on premises if you decide so, and also on private clouds. Again, the deployment on premises will depend the availability for the product itself. Oh, here's the automation cloud architecture. This was the platform architecture. I'm sorry, just misread. Okay, so the automation cloud architecture, our automation cloud allows the customers to start instantly and keep scaling, right? Depending on the load, depending on the workload that they are having. It is also a trusted and secure platform that reduces the total cost of ownership by providing an enterprise-grade integration with no infrastructure management. So that's the beauty of the cloud, right? It allows you to keep scaling, and you don't have to worry about the infrastructure. It offers all the products available, and it is compliance with most of the secured standards, right? The cloud portal will provide you instant sign up, defined access, centralized groups, license management, everything that you have there. It allows you to have multi-tenants, right? So you can just create your tenants depending on your organization, separate businesses, LOBs, groups, teams, give them different roles and different spaces to work on. You can create your development, your integration test, your acceptance, production acceptance testing, and you can have your production. Everything is isolated from each other. You know, people will have access to different tenants depending on their role. It's much easier to maintain and to keep that level of security. It has availability, 99.9% availability across the globe. I believe that may vary a little bit depending on the region where you are. It's also allows you to connect to your Azure AD group or SAML for SSO, for authentication and authorization. That's a really good feature. And yeah, I believe that's it. Let me take a look on the chat. Okay. All right, let's move a little bit further. This is the automation suite architecture. It's a little bit different. We have most of the products available on the automation suite. The automation suite enables you to deploy your full platform on premises or on private cloud. Includes the metal machines, on premises, virtual machines, infrastructure, or cloud subscription to any of the major providers. It's Kubernetes-based infrastructure, cluster management, and monitoring tools, all pre-configured, dedicated to and optimized for UiPath. So it's a really awesome solution that UiPath provides us with, which makes very much simpler to install and to enable UiPath platform. All shared suite capabilities that enable you to easily configure integration with existing enterprise systems, such as AD, Azure Directory, AAD, SAML, across all the products, right? So the automation suite is pretty much the cloud version on premises, right? You have almost all the features that the cloud provides you with, but on premises. So it's a really interesting solution that UiPath created. I would say much easier to deploy and to manage than the on-premises installation. Let's move forward. So here we have an architecture for the high availability and failover. This applies more for the standalone, right? Because here you have to have all the different products installed on your primary data center and also on your DR data center. So when I was saying, and here I don't know how much you guys know about the backend infrastructure, but when I was saying that you need different hardware pieces or hardware equipments for each product, on this case here, the orchestrator, there are two servers, right, on your primary database. And then you have 3 Linux servers to keep the high availability on. And then you have your SQL servers also installed on your primary data center. You have a file server That can be a file server, that can be a NAS drive, but you have to have that on your on premises. Then you have your, also on your primary data center, you have your bots installed, right? Here it depends if you are deploying, if you have unattended automations, that could be potentially VMs or VDIs, virtual desktops, where you have on your primary data center focus or specifically to run unattended automations. Oops, just 1 second. My battery is almost dying. I'm sorry about that.
We'll just wait a minute for Joel to get back. Thanks everybody for your patience. If you guys have any questions about the platform, you might want to put them in chat.
I'm so sorry. My computer forgot to plug the charger. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we're here. You're good.
I'm so sorry about that.
And you actually have a question. So if the client needs to make a DR system with HAA, is that applicable? They need another backup system in case the primary system has an update and will be down for 3 days. For example, how can we manage this?
Okay, just a second. Yeah, am I sharing my screen again?
Yes.
Okay. Let me bring that presentation back here. And I will take a look on the. So if the client needs to make a DR system without HAA, is that applicable? They need another backup system in case the primary system have an update and will be down for 3 days, for example. How can? So I suppose this is on premises, right? Yeah, you can have your data, your DR without a HA. That's possible. You don't have to have that, but then you don't have the high availability while you are on your disaster recovery data set, right? The service will be up and running, but if your DR also fails, you may be impacted, your business may be impacted. Does that answer your question? So yeah, just let me know if you.
Yeah, so you would only do that for a quick fix, right?
Yes. So it really depends on the strategy for each company, right? If your company wants high availability also on your DR, it is also possible, right? You can have the exact same primary data center installed on your DR site, right? Then you have everything available in the event that your primary data center goes down. it's an option, right? It depends on how the architecture will be designed and also the cost, right? How much you want to pay. Because the more things you make available on DR, the cost will increase with that, with the features and the tools that you want to enable on your DR. That's for sure. So if your company doesn't care or wants to reduce the cost, yeah, definitely you don't need the high availability on your DR.
Thanks, Joel.
Not a problem. Any other questions?
I don't see any in chat right now.
Yeah. So one thing that I want to talk about is the load balancers, right? We see here the load balancer. This architecture here only has this load balancer or the orchestrator, but it depends on how you design your solution, right? You could have, let me get a pen here. You could have a global load balancer on the very top here. Oh my God, so hard to design with. I think I will just give up by trying to use this pen. But yeah, you could have a global load balancer on the very top here that would get the traffic from all users, right? Regardless if you are on DR or on your primary data center. And then this global traffic manager or global load balancer would check which data center would be up and running, right? If your primary data center would be up and running, then this global load balancer would send the traffic to the primary data center. And then down here, we would still need a local load balancer for that data center, right? That would balance the traffic between the orchestrator IIS. And here's a very important topic. People usually mistake the load balancer between the IIS servers and the high availability servers. So the local traffic manager or load balancer, it doesn't talk to the high availability add-on or the Linux servers. So these three boxes here, they represent a cluster installed on 3 different Linux servers. So the high availability add-on, you install that on these Linux servers, you create a cluster with 1 master node and 2 slave nodes. So what happens is these 3 servers, they are online all the time, but only the master is talking to the orchestrator. So let's suppose the node 1 is the current master. So these 2 orchestrator servers here, they will be talking to this master node, right? But this master node doesn't talk to the load balancer. So the workflow is from the global traffic manager, local traffic manager, to the IIS servers. And then there is a back and forth between the IIS servers to the Linux servers. And the reason why we have this is just to, not just, right, but is to keep the transactions synchronized or to have backup for the transactions happening on the orchestrator. So let's say, for example, one of the servers is processing 1,000 transactions in a given time. And for some reason, the servers goes down. So the responsibility then is to the high availability node or cluster to pick up those 1,000 transactions and send it over to the second IIS server. So then this other IIS server will pick it up and finish the process for each transaction that was running on this first orchestrator. Right. So I just want to finish here. I think I was cut off in the middle when my battery went off. I was talking about the storage service, right? And also the database. So you will have to have like the storage servers on the primary on DR, and then there's a replication, right? It depends, again, it will vary from company to company, from place to place. If you have a Windows file system, file server, right? You can have a copy happening. And usually, if it's a big company, whenever you request your DR and your primary data server, your primary data center, that's is default. You just have to enable. You don't have much configuration to do. Same happens to the SQL Server. I personally, excuse me, I didn't have much to do when I set up the primary orchestrator database and the DR orchestrator database. We just requested the servers and describe it that one would be the primary, the other would be the DR, and the synchronization was automatically set up. And again, so something, not again, right? So one thing that I didn't talk about was the passive DR bots, right? So it depends on the strategy for each company. You have, let's say, you have 500 VDIs running unattended automations on your primary data center. So it's up to you to decide how many DR VDIs you want, right? You can, if you are willing to pay, you can have one-to-one, one primary, one DR, but that costs, right? And not everybody wants to pay for a sitting still VDI, because if it's on your DR data center, you're not actually using unless there's a need, right? So people usually assign just for critical automations, 1, 2, 3, depends on the automation, DR VDIs. So they are willing to, the automations that don't have a DR data center, they are willing to not have them in the event there is a real disaster recovery, right? So everything here, it's up to the company, right? To the risk appetite, to the budget that they have to deploy the infrastructure, to how much they are willing to fall back to the previous process and not have the automation available when there is a disaster. Okay, I see one comment. How can we make the system? How we make the system is async? I'm sorry, I didn't get your question. If you could please elaborate a little bit more. What do you mean by system is async? Do you mean between the file servers, DR, and yeah, but do you mean if you want to open up your microphone and speak up? But
Yeah, I mean a synchronization between SQL Server.
SQL Server.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So it depends on each company, right? You can have, for example, true copy that that's what I have actually. So your DR SQL Server is not actually accessible if you open up your DR SQL Server and try to query the database, you won't get it because it's actually offline. So there is a true copy happening where everything that happens on your primary data center is copied, real time to the disaster recovery database. But then if you need your DR database accessible, you have to stop your primary database and you have to do the work or request the DBAs to do that.
where they are going to stop the true copy, turn on the DR, turn off the primary database, and then start the true copy the opposite way, right? From the DR to the primary data center. And then you are able to go to your database, connect your orchestrator, and do whatever is required. And that may apply also to the file server or to the shared storage, right? It depends how your data replication happens between the primary and the DR data center. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes, thank you. Sorry, last question. SQL Server here built for availability group. That's a feature comes with only with HAA, or it's available if the client, I have a case, the client won't be pay for HAA and need a workaround to make a disaster recovery. How the SQL will be synchronized? Is that available to be availability group without HAA feature?
So the availability group is okay, availability group, you mean for the cloud, right? When you have different regions, the different availability groups, right?
I mean for on-prem, not for
On-prem.
cloud. Yeah.
But then the availability group will not apply for.
Yes, I
It
understand.
will.
Yeah. I have a question now. What I have a primary data center, and the client requests a passive DR data center without paying for HAA. They have on-prem installation. How is that available? If I have a system, primary system run, and I have down for it, as my previous question, for 3 days, for example, and how I can synchronize between the SQL Server in the active primary data center and the passive one.
Okay, so your on-prem installation, and you have your SQL Server on primary, you have your SQL Server on DR. You have high availability on prime on the primary data center, and you don't have high availability on your DR, right?
I don't have high availability in anyone.
Oh, you don't? It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. So you have a single node on your primary, a single node on your DR, and one SQL Server on each. So if you need to turn off the primary, you just have to make sure, I don't know the specifics of your environment, right? But you just have to make sure that the data is being copied or was being copied to the primary, right? So when the time that you turn off, your DR is up to date. But then what I just said, like whenever you put your DR up and running, you have to make sure that whatever synchronization you had previously between your primary and your DR, now you have to revert, right? It has to happen between your DR to your primary. So then whatever happens while you are running on your DR, it will also reflect on your primary whenever you go back to your primary. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How I can make synchronization between SQL 1 and 2? What is the tool or what is the feature? I don't know the feature.
Oh, okay. The true copy, what I have on my place is the true copy, right? It's a feature called SQL Server True Copy. But I would recommend you to talk to your DBAs, because this is not something that we from the platform would have to know the very details, right? We just get the directions that our DBAs give us, right? They are the experts on database. They decide which synchronization is the best. They decide, they tell us how to stop and start the DR and the primary data center. And then we follow their instructions. So we just have to engage them and make sure that we understand what they need and what they are telling us to do. Because I personally, I don't have access to, I have read access to the UiPath database, but I don't have access to the actual server, right? I'm not an administrator, I'm not a DBA. I don't have any privileges as an administrator on the database. I can just read the data. So everything that I need when it comes to the database, I just reach out to the DBAs.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so we are almost on time, 5:57, and my actual presentation is done. That was that was the plan for today. Now we have some additional resources that everybody has available. So if you are looking for education, you can you can download your free community UiPath Studio and start creating your automations that are free. A lot of courses free on the Academy certifications, Academy Alliance. There are all sorts of forums and groups that we can reach out to get more information about UiPath. I would say the UiPath community is the most vibrant community that I have ever seen. It's really powerful and really helpful. Here are some links to some additional resources. Again, the Academy is an amazing place to whoever is looking for some additional skills or knowledge. You have probably over 200 courses available for free. The forum, it's an amazing place. Whenever you have questions, I personally use a lot the forum when I have errors or issues. I post there, people will, right away try to help and answer my questions. Community events like we are doing, you can sign up to every community chapter and get the news from everybody within America, within the globe, actually. Blogs and tutorials, there's a lot of good content out there as well. And yeah, any further questions do we have from the folks in the call?
I don't see any questions.
I have a last question, sorry.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
absolutely.
If you have an option to ignore system of the two system, you have a case that you have one orchestrator and in your DR, can I ignore orchestrator or I can ignore the SQL Server itself when I am deploying now? One of two can be ignored.
So let me go back to the diagram here. So you were saying you have orchestrator SQL Server on your primary data center.
Okay.
What you are trying to do on your DR and what you are trying to ignore?
If IT the IT section told me that we should have one server to be up. How I can choose between them? I can choose orchestrator IIS server or SQL server.
So in order to have your orchestrator up and running, you have to have a SQL server, right? Without the SQL server, the orchestrator will not work. So I may have the, let me see here. Yeah, I would have to search the
I remember. You mean that when you're accessing the orchestrator itself from the website, if the SQL server closed, it will not be accessed. You will
exactly. I was looking for thinking about the single node diagram. So because you have a single node on your primary and you have a single node in your data center, so at least you need one Windows IS server here. So let me try it here. So this is, oh my God, here. You did this, and you need one of this, right? One IS, one SQL Server. That's the minimum, bare minimum, right? Without any of the two, you are down. And then again, on your DR, that also applies. You need one here, and you need, no, this is just a listener. This is the SQL Server. So you need 4 servers to keep your primary data center and your DR data center. Without this, you don't have it, right? Without the DR database, you don't have DR. Without the primary database, you don't have the primary orchestrator. As simple as that. You can't just ignore. You can, though, one thing that you can, it's, for example, if you have this orchestrator here on the primary data center, you can connect to from your DR to your primary. That's technically possible, but it doesn't make much sense, because if your primary data center goes down, you still will not have your DR orchestrator, right?
Thank you. You're right.
No problem. Okay. With that, if we don't have any other questions, I think we're good. Just
Thank you so much, Joel.
thank you. Yeah, no problem. And I hope you guys sign up for the second session. We're going to keep the momentum and keep talking about this. We're going to try to get as much as possible on these sessions. And
Yeah, I put that URL in the chat for you.
yeah, thank you, Diana.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
No problem.